Hello, Real Nerds listeners. Welcome to my segment of the show. You know, the one where I get to talk about anything that I want. Well, why are you going to listen to my voice? That sounds stupid. You've listened to my voice several times talking about The Nice Guys being the seventh best film of 2016, which it still is, guys. I'm sorry. But why don't we go ahead and change it up a little bit by bringing in another voice, probably a better voice, maybe even a sexier voice. Who knows? Maybe a voice that can offer some hope for aspiring filmmakers out there who wish to make their own dreams come true. We have a gentleman today who was able to make his own dreams come true. Starting off his life in Wyoming and the Black Hills of South Dakota, he went on to attend Colorado Film School to study writing and directing, where he then moved through various departments, eventually finding himself in the art department on several commercials and feature films. He worked his way up the ladder for a production designer on features and television properties before finally getting the chance to tell his own story. It's in the form of a film called Blackwood, which is coming to Colorado along with other locations in the coming months and the coming weeks. Dang, if you're in Colorado and you want to check it out on July 22nd, it's going to be here. But before we get to all of that, we want to meet the person who brought us the movie Blackwood. So I'm pleased to welcome for this little segment of the show, the one and only Chris Canfield.
Yay! Nice to meet you, man.
We don't have canned applause. We have actual applause. They're coming from me, damn it.
Hey, man, I clap alone sometimes. This is a good occasion right now.
I do all too many things alone. Now, now welcome, Chris. Now, it's been a while since we've talked, but as far back as I can remember at CFS, you were a gentleman who was very detail oriented, and it makes all the sense in the world that one of the first things you did was move into art direction and production design. But I'd like for you to give people like kind of a capsule form of your origin story. Like, who is the Chris Canfield man, and how did he become the Chris Canfield man?
Ooh, nice. Okay. A lot of hard work. So I went to film school, Colorado Film School. Doing my own projects out of film school, I, discovered really fast that I didn't have the ways to make my own feature. I went for writing and directing, but I didn't have the ways to make my own feature. I didn't know the right people, but I still wanted to stay busy within the industry. So I started getting some art department jobs and fell into that and worked my way up to production designer. I actually forget how many movies I've designed. Over about 10, I think, I've designed over the years. But during that whole time, I still wanted to direct, and I still wanted to write. There was still that passion in me. And finally, it just came a time where I was just like, I got to do it. I gotta put my head down, focus on what I want to do, and put it out there. And to try to get this movie sold, that wasn't an easy task either. It wasn't just overnight. I had to really push and get it out there. And there's just a lot of steps leading up to it. And to get to this point, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of luck.
Well, and it's not just what's funny, we were talking about production design in your journey, but like in film school, I remember distinctly, you worked several departments, as you should, because you've got to learn the different various aspects of production, because if you don't, you're not going to understand or even empathize with the different people on the crew who may need part of your expertise to assist their part of the vision. And if you don't understand like the sound department, you don't know whether or not there might be a piece of production design that interferes with their ability to do their job. It's helpful to know, and it's clear that you have always kind of had that attention to what everybody else needs around you. And within that is a question though, like when you moved into production design, did it feel like you were stepping back, or did you take it as a chance to learn a craft rather than just taking it as like, well, I'm not directing, so why does it matter, No,
I understand. I actually took it more as like another learning experience, because that's your kind of goal as soon as you get done with school, is to use what you know and try to apply it to your future. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but I was still I felt like I was still working within the industry. And then as I worked my way up to production designer, I felt like I was still being part of that creative decision, being in that world, understanding who these characters are, having to make the sets, make the wardrobe, make, the certain props pertain to the story that is trying to be told. And I feel like from that, it even kind of deepened more into that. But yeah, going back to what you're saying, working on other stuff, I feel like if you want to direct, you're technically the captain of the ship. So you kind of should know a little bit about, what each department kind of does, expectations, the realism of what can be done with, certain money, time, situation, everything like that. And I feel like, yeah, it was very helpful to dabble in all that. Now I didn't, it's not like you have to master each one unless you want to, if you have the time to, but as long as you can do some of it, do some of the work, understand the functions of the machine and how it turns and everything like that, you can carry that on and have more of an understanding on how to kind of run your own ship, So.
Yeah, it's no different than a Star Trek captain knows knows to a certain degree how the engines work to assist the engineer in his job. Kirk knows exactly what Scotty's talking about to a point. But so let's talk about, so you've moved through production design, you've worked on films such as War Pigs, The Last Son, and now it brings us to Blackwood. Talk a little bit about Blackwood, because the plot, for people who don't know, as described here is very interesting. It's one that involves Native American tradition, and specifically the Wendigo. And I want to know where this came from. Where did this idea come from for you?
Well, luckily, I'd love to tell you on this one. So basically, Blackwood, back when I was trying to make just something. I just wanted to make something. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter how much money it was going to cost. It could cost me $5. I just wanted to prove that I could make something. So when this came about, I had one image in my head, and that image was of an outhouse in the middle of the woods, alone, with a burnt house next to it. But on the outhouse, there were all these scratch marks and claw marks, and the door is just slightly open. And there you see this toilet that's kind of widened and everything like that. That is where this origin of this movie was. Like, I was originally thinking can I cuss on this show?
Please. I don't give a fuck.
Right. No, I was originally going to call this movie Shit House, and it was like about a shit monster at the bottom of the toilet, because I was like, I can probably do that for $50, but then I started thinking of the outline and everything like that, and I'm like, even though I love those types of movies and everything, I was like, is this what I really want to do for my first one? So I took it back a little bit, and then I did some research, did a little bit more, and I realized I kind of want to make this a Western, because I live in an area where getting the Western clothes, getting the horses, the period correct stuff, I was in an area that I had access to all that. And I was like,
and that aesthetic is ingrained in the places that you grew up in too. So you have an intuition about it.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, is like, this is kind of a surrealistic movie, but growing up in that ranch lifestyle, I wanted to keep it authentic for the Western side. So the saddles that are in there, those are period correct saddles. The wardrobe that's in there, period correct wardrobe. The guns, the boots are all period correct stuff. And then, some of the language that we have in there is a little bit period correct as well. But we still wanted to keep it grounded in reality as much as we could, but have a little fun with it as well.
Yeah. And you're dealing in here within this story. Was something that I find interesting is that it's surrounding an indigenous woman who's who's trying to evade this gang. And I'm curious, like, when you're trying to create this horror Western aesthetic and whatnot, how important is a character to you in that respect? Because this is like, you don't see a lot of films dealing with an indigenous woman, let alone indigenous people at all. And I'm curious how you took an approach to that in trying to, whether to be thoughtful or to take a new angle on it.
I wanted to be thoughtful. So the latter half of my teens, I grew up in South Dakota, and you're kind of surrounded by that culture that's up here, and I've been kind of immersed into that. And I wanted to give, I felt like I wanted to give another platform for them to kind of, be able to speak, be able to, be more than a lot of Hollywood movies are now. Even though when you watch a trailer, you might think that it's that, but it's not. And so the characters themselves, I wanted to make more than just a creature feature. I wanted to have people dive into these characters, because these characters have more depth than what is shown in the trailer, and there's a lot of interaction between the two, and I wanted to stay true to that. There's even going off of this, there's even the main woman, Doan Howie, she there's Lakota in there. We speak Lakota, we speak Crow in this movie, so we wanted to make sure we could bring all this together character-wise. We didn't want to just, do like the newest Prey and everybody speaks English and stuff. We wanted to try to make it more authentic,
Yeah, it's an attempt to create a realistic world set amid this creature feature, which, has precedence that has far exceeded the expectations of most people who, like Guillermo del Toro, has made a living off of this. So, it gives you a base platform to work off of. So I've got two things here before we tell more people about where they can see this. The first one is, like, out of all the things you were able to do on the film, what has to be the standout? Like, this was the moment where you were like, this is why I made this movie. I'm so excited I made this movie. Like, was there that one moment on set that just lit that spark for you?
There was a lot, there's a lot of good moments on set. Everybody came together, like the crew. I mean, everybody just worked their butts off to bring together this story. Honestly, my favorite moments, I guarantee, is probably going to be coming up here on July 22nd. The reason to make this movie is for everybody like you to see it and maybe take something away from it. I'm super stoked to finally have it come out. It's been we shot it right before COVID hit, and then we were grounded for almost a year and having to pick it back up, and having the ability to have Saban Entertainment pick it up, man. It's awesome. It's been fantastic.
It's a fantastic way to emerge out of a pandemic, to have something that you nurtured and cared for, like just before everything hit, to have it finally see the light of day. I'm so happy for you, sir, on this.
Thank you, man. I'm excited to show you.
And for those who are wondering about this screening that's coming up in Denver, I'm going to tell you, it's at the Northfield 18, the Harkins Theater, I'm assuming. It's a nice coming back to full circle for the CFS.
Absolutely, man.
That's the CFS, the stand where everything happens there. So you can check it out on July 22nd at the Northfield Harkins 18. You'll also be able to check out the film at the Lumiere Music Hall in LA, the Ravenous 7 in Cleveland, the Screenland Armoire in Kansas City, Arizona Mills 25, Chandler Fashion Center 20, Gateway Pavilions 18, Prescott Valley 14, Superstition Springs 25, Flagstaff 16, all in the Phoenix area, Elks Theater in Rapid City, South Dakota, and the State Theater in Sioux Falls, and last but not least, the Bricktown 16 in Oklahoma City. Chris, where else are going to people be able to see this? It's not just theaters, because they will be able to catch this elsewhere too.
Absolutely. So July 26th, it'll come out on digital platforms. I can list through them real quick. We have, for cable, we have Xfinity, we have DirecTV, we have AT&T, we have Cox, we have Charter, Verizon, Frontier, which I'm assuming is Frontier Airlines, maybe?
Well, I mean, the animals on the side of the planes are going to be rather scared.
And then for the digital side, we got Apple TV, we got iTunes, we got Prime Video, we got Vudu, we got YouTube Movies, Google Play, Microsoft Movies, and then Redbox On Demand is what we have. And then 6 months after the release of this one, we will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, releasing internationally. So we're working really hard to get that done right now. So
fantastic. And before we go, what's next after Blackwood? What's coming next?
Oh, that's scary, man. And there's a few in the pipeline. One of them is a ghost story that takes place at early 1900s boarding school. But then on the flip side, it's like a snowplow crew that has to take on a Yeti,
What? What? I feel like we were just building up to the moment where you just mentioned Yeti. There's a dearth of Yeti movies out there.
It's called Plowed. And it's been a lot of fun so far to kind of put that together, you know. So we'll see. There's a few, so that way there's a choice for anybody who wants to read them.
Fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, 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 please check out the link in the description or just listen to the sound of my voice here, theblackwoodmovie.com. Check out the trailer. Check it out in the theaters in your area, or stay tuned on July 26th for it to release on digital and on your cable providers. Thank you again, Chris, for coming and sitting down with me for a little bit.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.